Hey guys, Sean from Playersingreen here again with another tutorial. Sorry for those who thought this would be the day I was doing the water tutorial on how to make players look like water. I will hopefully cover that tomorrow. I didn't have time tonight to put it together, but I did have time to do a quick tutorial on the masking tool and how you're going to set up your Photoshop document when you're doing designs in Photoshop. So I'm kind of just going to begin, and before you search for images, the first thing you do is you want to set up your document, and you go to File, New, and you, depending on what you're trying to do, is going to be your width and your height. Now, if you're making a wallpaper, which I mostly do all the time, it's 1920 by 1080 with a 300 resolution. Oh. Now, if you're getting your work printed, I suggest a much larger size, like 20 inches by 20 inches, or 20 by 18, 20 being the height, 18 being the width of inches, and always 300 at least resolution because that's high def. But I suggest using the wallpaper size because I don't know who's getting their work printed, and at least if it's wallpaper size, you can use it for something. When you make those square boxes that are like 1500 by 1500, you really can't use them for much. You can use them as a wallpaper, but they look weird because they're only going to take up half of your screen. So when you make your designs, make sure it's 1920 by 1080. So at 300 less resolution. Always remember that. And you hit OK. Alright, so now you have your Photoshop set up. And now we're going to find an image so we can crop, and I'll add it to my link after I make a PNG of them. And we're going to do Paul George, because I feel bad for the guy. He's got a bad injury right now. Alright, so we go to our search, and Paul George, and go to images. And when you're searching for images, you always want to get high def images. You don't want to get low resolution images. And low resolution images would be something that's like this, 300 by 300. This is not high def at all. When you go into Photoshop and you go to edit it, it's going to look like this, right? And say you want to expand it. It gets fuzzy and it doesn't look good. So what you need to do is make sure you find images that are 1500 and higher. And a way you can do that is you go to your search tool, size, larger than, and then you can go by 2MP, or you can just do large. Doesn't matter. It's up to you. And then you want to find a nice image of Paul George. I like getting full body images. I don't like getting images that are like this because his legs are cut off, and anything with like legs cut off or arms cut off looks kind of weird. So let's use this picture of USA because he was a part of Team USA. I guess he still is in a way. Let's bring it into Photoshop. Alright, so we got our nice image of Paul George here, and we want to take him out of this background. But we also want to make sure he fits in the frame here. So what we're going to do is size him down. We're using the shift tool to make sure he's still, the shift tool, proportional. So when you go to size him down, don't just drag it like this and then look, oh yeah, look, he's not proportional at all. That's awful. What you're going to do is you're going to hold the shift key and drag it down. So then he's nice and proportional, and you don't get these dysfunctional looking images. Let's make this a little smaller. There you go. Paul George. Okay. And now, when you're designing in this 1900 by 1000, 1920 by 1080 frame, you have to keep in mind, if you're going to post this on Instagram, majority of your image should be within 1000 pixels, because the 1000 by 1000 is going to be what you're going to post on Instagram most likely for your design. So you want to keep it in this frame. Everything outside of this you want to just be kind of shading or stuff that's not as important. You want the focus to be within this 1000 and 1000 frame. So keep that in mind when you're making your design. You don't want Paul George to be over here and you post on Instagram, oh yeah, look at my design. I mean, yeah, you could drag it over, but the whole point is you want to keep it inside that frame. I mean, you could also use the Insta size, which will post the whole frame, but it gets so tiny, it's so difficult to see. And I've noticed that with some of my work, it's not as good looking because Instagram kills the quality when you make it so small. But besides the point, oh, if you want the rulers, by the way, go to View and just click on Rulers, or Control R, and that will add the rulers. Alright, so now we're going to crop out Paul George. There are many ways you can crop out Paul George. There are the magic wand tool, where you can select around them. I don't recommend this tool. Just because, look at this reason. Like, I'm selecting forever. I'm still not getting anywhere because of all this in the background. Now let me actually explain to you how this works. All these tools, for the most part, the magic wand tool and the quick selection tool, two of the ways you're gonna try to crop someone out. They select the colors that are similar, and it tries to identify the difference between the colors here and here. But it isn't always able of doing that, so I don't recommend that tool. And the same with the quick selection tool. A lot of people use this. I would only use it if you have a solid background behind them. So you have all these players, right? So I'm gonna keep going around, and look, I'll cut in right there. Oh, I'm on my subtract tool. Let's move to the plus. Okay, I'm still going. Oh, and look, there it goes. Went right up, and now he's in there. So I would recommend that you can use this tool, and it's definitely one of the better tools, but I wouldn't always recommend it. This is actually coming out a little bit better than I thought, because normally it'll just skip all this selection and it'll go right into the image. So let's see if I select in here. See, there it goes. It went right in the image. And that kind of like kills the quality when you try to do mask. So I would only use that if you're using an image that has like a solid background. And then there's the lasso tools. There's the regular lasso tool that you kind of go around and try to do it freehand, which I really don't recommend because you're never going to get a mask that way. There's the polygonal, which I recommend because I love this tool and I will use it, which lets you select points and you can go and be really precise about it and add all the detail. And then there is the magnetic one, which is another one I recommend because it kind of is more accurate with the colors. See how it's selecting the points for you between the skin and the background, and it does a really good job of kind of selecting difference. And this is the tool I would use. I use this one a good amount of the time, but I do like the polygonal one a little bit better because it doesn't always come out this accurate with the magnetic lasso tool. This is working extremely well right now. So you're just going to keep going around Paul George with this magnetic lasso tool, and it does all the work for you. You don't have to click. And you can create this mask, go around nice and slow, make sure you get all the points you're supposed to, or as many as you can. And look at that, you got a nice selection of Paul George. Now the only problem is you have this area right here. So to deselect this area, and with any of the tools, when you have the tool highlighted up here, it's going to show you a couple options, and you're probably not going to understand them all. This would create a new selection, this first one right here, instead of continuing with this one. This selection would add to your current selection, so watch. And see it added to your current selection. This tool will subtract from your current selection, which is the tool we want. And each one of the lasso tools have this, and so do the selection, the magic wand, and the quick selection tool. And there we go. See, we got a nice selection around here. Oh. And there you go. You have a kind of a cutout of Paul George. It's not 100% accurate, which I will admit, but it's a good starting point. It's better than most. So now that you have your selection and you want to crop them out of your background, what you're going to do is you're going to click on your layer mask. And look at that, you got your selection now. It's kind of rough when you zoom in. You're going to see it's not rough. Let's make a black background so we can see the detail. And you see his eyes cut out here, the ball's cut off. This should probably not be there. Same with this, that doesn't look right. So now you want to make sure you're very precise with your tool and how, with your cutout, and how you can make this better or fix it instead of using the erase tool, which would be destructive editing, is you take your brush tool and you take a nice feathered brush, or you can use actually I would use a hard brush, and these black and white colors will delete and add to your mask. So before you do anything, make sure you're on your masking layer, so you click right here, And, well, it really won't delete it, but it will hide it. So watch, I'm just going to hide all this right now. Oh, my opacity is low. Let me make that 100. So see, watch. But it's not deleted because if I want it to come back, I go to my white, and my white tool is going to show it all. Look at that. And it's a nice tool. So I'm going to use my white tool, and I'm going to show any areas that are missing. I think we're pretty good. The magnetic lasso did a very good job selecting most of the areas. That does not happen a lot. Trust me, guys. I've been doing this for a while, and you're very lucky if you get a selection this clean. I probably should have chosen a more difficult image. But you're just gonna like kind of go back and forth, and you're just gonna try and create this mask as much as you can to be as accurate as possible. Oh, made a mistake. Control Z that to undo. And look at that, we got a nice mask. Oh, I think we're missing some skin right there. Yes, we were. It still doesn't look right. It must be the lighting. But now you kind of have your cutout of Paul George. And that's kind of masking. There's a lot of things you can do with masking. It's a very useful tool. You see how you have this mask now, and anywhere you move him, he goes with it. He's a PNG. He's perfect. Oh, look at that. I didn't even realize. Oh, that's why you gotta check your background. There's a little extra black here we want to get rid of. Oh, sorry, wrong tool. So let's get rid of that. Get a smaller brush in here. This is why I prefer sometimes the feathered brush, although it's not 100% accurate, is you won't get these hard edges sometimes create like a weird looking a hard like shape, like kind of like this, and sometimes it doesn't always look right. I mean, there's a lot of little fine details in here that you want to get correct. But we have our cutout here at Paul George, and that's kind of how you do masks. There's a lot of cool things you can do with masks. Hopefully I can get in more depth. I really wanted to show your Photoshop setup more here and how you should be working with it. But if you have any other masking tools, I'll make sure to make another tutorial. I'm sorry this wasn't the water tutorial like many were hoping. Hopefully I'll get that out tomorrow. It's just a matter of setting it up and then showing you guys the steps. Just trying to think if there's any other masking things you might want to know. I mean, some cool things you can do with the mask, and I'll show real quick, is say you have a brush, right? And I'm going to go through, like, I don't know, let's see, what do I got here? I got, like, this random brush here, and let's add some color. Alright, see how it's everywhere? Well, and we don't want it everywhere. What you could do is you could take your mask, and now it only goes, oh, sorry. You can move the mask. You can copy the mask, I'm sorry. And let me Control J. Oh my god, it's not dragging. There we go. Delete that. And see how the light is only now within what Paul George mask was, not all over the place like it was before. See, it was everywhere. But now when I have my mask, it's only inside the mask. So that's like one thing. Hopefully I'll get more in depth about that in another tutorial. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope this helped you with your setup. Hopefully I'll have like I said, the water tutorial out tomorrow, and a clone tool or stamp tool tutorial out in a couple days. But subscribe to my channel, Players in Green. Thank you for watching once again, and I hope you enjoyed.